Hey guys, greetings and salutations. This is James. Thought I'd make another video. I'm actually at a new location. This is Crown Valley Park, actually in Laguna Niguel in Orange County. So I actually just had some classes here, but I thought I'd take some time just to kind of work on a topic that I really thought was very relevant and interesting. Something that I kind of feel like I'm working through, but I also wanted to just share a lot of the things that I'm learning in regards to this topic. And of course I'm talking about the idea of arguing with people. Now I'm not talking about just arguing as if we're just having an exchange with someone, but I'm talking about actually having heated discussions with people. I think that, it goes without saying that when you stand up for the truth, when you are a Christian especially, of course the truth is going to be relevant, and it's going to be something that we're going to be passionate about, something that God has cultivated in me to really want to honor and love the truth and love righteousness. Just recently I was actually talking to a family member that I was visiting, and we started talking about the topic of abortion and a lot of these other things. And this family member, is not a Christian. They have really antithetical ideas that really contradict what the Bible teaches. And so over a certain span of a certain time, just having exchanges with them, I learned over time that they just weren't qualified to actually have those discussions with, because although they are under the impression they are mature enough to have serious, in-depth discussions, their actions have shown otherwise. So I actually have some verses I just wanted to share with you guys, maybe four, just to remind everyone, what does the Bible say about the idea of arguing as a Christian? So I think it's really important just to keep in mind that we are really ambassadors of Christ, so we don't get to just kind of jump into any discussion with people and just be reckless with our words. We should always be mindful of the things that we're saying. We're going to be accountable to God. People are going to look at us and judge us very differently, because if we're Christians, we're obviously supposed to be reflecting the nature of Christ. So that's something that everyone's going to be paying attention to. It's one thing for a godless person to say something reckless, but it's something entirely different for someone who identifies and professes the name of Christ as their Savior when it comes to how we express ourselves. So I just want to share some verses here just to kind of give you guys an idea of what the Bible teaches clearly in regards to just arguing and things like that. Proverbs 15:1 says, "A soft answer turns away wrath, but a harsh word stirs up anger." So obviously, not only the context, but also just the type of words that we use when we're communicating with people. We have to be mindful of what it is that we're communicating to people. Even if we're saying something that is kind of rough and something that someone needs to hear, maybe a warning, maybe we're trying to correct someone in love, our delivery actually matters. The delivery that you use has a lot to do with just how a person is going to interpret your message. There's plenty of times where I actually had to take the time to kind of correct somebody that I love and I value very much. Somebody my age, somebody older, someone younger, even children. I've been working with children for over 20 years, and I've learned that the context matters, but also the approach, the delivery I use when I'm communicating with people has a lot to do with showing how I feel about them. If I genuinely care about somebody and I have concern for them, I'm obviously going to be more gentle with my words. Even if I'm correcting them in love, I'm going to be mindful of the type of words that I'm using. And we have to keep in mind that if you're going to use a harsh approach with people, people are going to respond to that harsh approach. You may lose friends. You may sever ties with people that, you could have had a connection with. You could be even severing opportunities with people that could have actually been, potential, Christians that God would have used you to use as a tool to communicate the gospel with them. But when we're harsh, people notice that. People notice the type of delivery you use. So just keep in mind that the type of message that we have, it's important. It could be important, but the delivery is just as important. Let's get to our next verse here. All right, so the next verse we have is in 2 Timothy chapter 2, 23 and 24. This is a very important one. It says, Paul says, "Have nothing to do with foolish, ignorant controversies. You know that they breed quarrels. And the Lord's servant must not be quarrelsome, but kind to everyone, able to teach, patiently enduring evil." When we are entertaining the idea of engaging in foolish discussions, we're showing people that we're always willing to fall into some type of argument or something that honestly, what according to the context here, is really a useless discussion to even engage in and entertain. And that's something that we have to be mindful enough as Christians. When we have somebody that is purposefully trying to be antagonistic, or trying to be, teasing us, or being very rough with how they approach us in a conversation, we have to make a decision. Is this person even qualified for me to engage with? Some people are not qualified to have certain discussions. They're just not mature enough. And they can be 40 and 50 and 60 years old, and they still are not mature enough. Sometimes there's a certain time when we have to kind of sever ties in a conversation and say, hey, thank you for sharing your thoughts. God bless you. And we have to move on. I think that it's just really important to be able to differentiate what type of conversations and discussions we can entertain and the ones we can't. One of the things that I was going to share is that it's important just to pay attention to people that are really just showing you the traits and the attributes of somebody that is attentive enough to actually have a mature, in-depth adult conversation. There's a lot of people that completely forget, or at least they lose interest in actually hearing what the other person has to say, but they really just prioritize what it is that they want to say. And those type of people are not going to be receptive to a conversation. So we have to be mindful not to get drawn into useless, meaningless discussions with people that really honestly aren't interested in listening and aren't interested in just engaging in a discussion. Let's check out the next verse here, our third verse. This is Romans 14:19. So then, let us pursue what makes for peace and for mutual upbuilding. So Paul is writing in Romans that when we engage with anyone, or even when we're using our words, our approach should be to ultimately build someone up. Even when we are offering constructive criticisms, or when we're correcting somebody in love, we can be upbuilding towards someone. We can encourage them to be better. We can remind people the strength that God has given them to, just move in a more cautious, careful, and a constructive, productive way. But we don't have to tear people down. We can actually upbuild them, and that should be our goal every time we open our mouth to have a discussion with somebody, even if they're on the other side of a political argument or a moral discussion. It's really important just to keep in mind not only the delivery, not only are they attentive to the conversation, but our approach, and asking ourselves, the words that we're using, are we being productive and constructive with what we're sharing? So it's just important just to keep that in mind. There's so many responsibilities, obviously, when we're walking with the Lord, what we have to be mindful of when we're opening our mouth to say anything. And honestly, just sharing my personal understanding and convictions is that I've become a little bit more sensitive to what it is that I say and what I type out, even on social media, because there are people that actually care about what I say. They take it very seriously. If I tell them, hey, you're really off the rails and you're really lost when it comes to this topic, there are some people that it means a lot to them for me to say something like that. So I'm trying to be more careful and cautious with the type of words that I use, even if it's just correcting people in love, which is necessary and important. But as Paul said, the idea is to be to have peace when we're communicating God's truth and love, and just our everyday conversations with people should be peaceful, but also mutually upbuild, especially within brotherhood, within the family of Christ. Last verse, Titus 3:9. But avoid foolish controversies, genealogies, dissensions, and quarrels about the law, for they are unprofitable and worthless. I don't know about you guys, but God has really put me in a very interesting, I'm going to say a very interesting position in life. I, as a Christian man, because I'm open about my faith, I often meet people with a Black Hebrew Israelite background, Mormon background, Jehovah's Witnesses, maybe somebody who's, who's practicing some form of Judaism, maybe Orthodox, or, I know people who are doing the whole Greek Orthodox, they're part of the Greek Orthodox movement church, Roman Catholics, Now, obviously, all of these groups I just named, I can't agree with their key tenets for how they define who God is or their truth, and other faiths as well. Biblical Christianity is obviously God's truth. Jesus said in John 14:6, I am the way, I am the truth, I am the life. No one comes to the Father except through me. So that's, we have to not only understand that Jesus is the only way, but we have to understand how to identify whom Jesus is. And every other false philosophy or false ideology has a completely different interpretation of who Jesus is. And so obviously, if somebody's constantly engaging me with conversations like that, or their false precepts, I want to be mindful to see if they're going to be receptive to hear what I'm going to say. Yes, I know they're going to be outspoken, but I also want to make sure that they're willing to listen and hear what I have to say as well. The verse here is really saying to avoid foolish controversies as well. So that also can stand for, meaningless and useless conversations about ideologies. I have a lot of people that like to engage with me, and the first thing they jump on are all the topics they know that I'm against. And it's one thing to have a constructive conversation and asking me questions, but then you have some people that are just plainly being antagonistic, and they just keep going back to the same things over and over again. And so, of course, I've learned, I can't entertain discussions like this. And I know people in my family that do this, and I know people that I associate with that do this, and they fall into this practice of just doing it over and over again. And so I've learned that the difference with the people that are receptive, willing to have a conversation, and the people that are showing the signs that they're not interested. And so I treat them, accordingly. Of course, if there's an opportunity, I'm going to make the opportunity to share the gospel. But when it comes to all these other conversations where a person is trying to be intentionally antagonistic, I put a limit on that, and I sever ties with that conversation almost immediately, because it's useless. And I have to remember that for them, as a godless person, they're not going to be accountable in the same way I am to God when it comes to me representing Christ. Christians are going to be judged in a different way, but we're still going to be answering for the things that we said and done in this lifetime. So it's really important just to be mindful of that. And yeah, I hope this is very helpful, because I personally, I get into a lot of discussions with people. So I really, think it's very helpful for us to communicate and talk about these things as well. I'll probably make a follow-up video, really just identifying more of the attributes of people that are just plainly not qualified to have these conversations. But God bless you guys. Thank you very much. Make sure you like and subscribe. Peace, and yeah, hit me up if you guys have any questions, all right? And thank you. Thank you very much for listening. Bye.